Welcome back, everyone, to Red Spotlight, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reaction commentary series. I'm Alexis, and I'm joined here by David Francisco, longtime Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans that just want to come back here and talk endlessly about this wonderful show that we love so much. I'm so excited, obviously, for today's episode. I can't imagine many S.H.I.E.L.D. people not thinking this is one of their favorites for a variety of reasons. I was just asking David before we recorded just now if he remembered any of this episode, and he was saying, well, he kind of did, right? As soon as he saw the thumbnail.
Yeah, I definitely remember May and Coulson having like a cool dynamic in this episode, and then the May versus May fight. So yeah, it's definitely a standout.
The episode is called Face My Enemy. This is episode 4 of season 2, written by Drew Z. Greenberg, who... Interesting. I think this is the first episode Drew has written for this show. Drew will continue to write episodes and will become a staple of the main writer's room for this show. He's going to stay with the show all the way to the very end. I think one of his final episodes that he wrote for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is also considered to be one of the best of the whole show. I think the last episode he wrote was As I Have Always Been, in season 7, which was the episode that was directed by Elizabeth Henstridge, the time loop episode from season 7. So, always like to keep track of who's behind the camera, obviously, and directed by Kevin Tancharoen. At this moment, I'm not sure how many episodes Kevin Tancharoen has directed at this point. I need to maybe keep track on that. Anyway, this was aired on October 14th, 2014. Oh my god. And this was watched by 7.8 million viewers. Yeah, let me just go over the main cast here. Our guest appearances: BJ Britt as Antoine Triplett, Reed Diamond as Daniel Whitehall, Henry Simmons as Alfonso McMckenzie, Simon Kensian is as Sunil Bakshi, Ruth Nega as Reina, Maya Stojan as Agent 33, Adrian Pazdar as Glenn Talbot, Diego Serrano as Gabriel Soto, Roberto Medina as a bishop, and Christian Barrias as a priest. The main cast, of course, includes Clark Gregg, Ming-Na Wen, Brett Dalton, Chloe Bennett, Ian DeCasticker, Elizabeth Henstridge, and Nick Blood as Lance Hunter. Some interesting notes here about today's episode. Yes, this was the first episode. I have it here confirmed. This is the first episode of the entire series to be directed by Kevin Tancharoen. And if that name sounds familiar, he is the brother of the showrunner of the show, Marissa Tancharoen. Again, it's all in the family. I love that. But Kevin Tancharoen would be, I think he might have, I don't know, just off the top of my head, I think he may have directed the most episodes of the show. He became a staple, and I think this episode made an impression in large part because of how he directed the action choreography, which I think is, Kevin Tancharoen is one of these people you want to remember as to why S.H.I.E.L.D. just got better as it got along. Anyway, more on this episode right here. Here's some notes that I've been able to catch for about the costumes. For the dress that Ming-Na Wen wears in this episode, costume designer Anne Foley had 10 days notice to make a dress that was appropriate for both dancing and fighting in. Duplicates also had to be made for Maya, who played Agent 33, and Ming-Na Wen's 2 stunt doubles. She explained that she decided to do a wrap dress, so that Wen could easily dance. It already had a slit sort of built into it, so that it gave her freedom of movement. The goal is always to make sure that the actors are comfortable in their costumes, that they can move freely and do their stunts, and that nothing is too restrictive, and that they look amazing at the same time. The dress also needed long sleeves so that Wen could have pads on underneath the dress for when she was fighting. And then, of course, she's got that crazy fight where she's fighting herself. She needed some serious freedom of movement in that dress, so we built panels that had stretch and put them in several areas on her arms and her sides so that it moved with her as she punched herself. As far as the set coordinator Tanner Gill explained that the hotel in which the climactic fight takes place was designed specifically with the fights in mind, saying the basic environment of the fight had to be constructed to be stunt-friendly. The space was tailored. Each corner was rounded. Surfaces were measured for height and size, then padded. Elaborating on this, fight choreographer Matt Mullins stated, "The main fight starts in a hallway, and then we move into a penthouse. Okay, we have a hallway and a penthouse. What can we do with that? Are we going to crash into some walls? Are we going to get into the kitchen? We see what we would get in terms of props. We take into consideration what the actors can do move-wise. In our case, Ming-Na is exceptionally talented, so we can do a lot of different martial arts movement with her. As far as the filming is concerned, like the others in the series, this was shot over 8 days. It took 8 days to shoot this episode, with the May versus May fight being shot over 3 of those days. One 16-hour day, a half day, and a quarter day. In preparation for the fight, both Wen and her stunt double Samantha Jo had to learn both May and Agent 33's actions, with Jo explaining that usually you only have to learn one side so you can just drill that into your head and have that muscle memory and be good to go. But for this fight, for both Ming and myself, we had to learn both sides of the fight, and we knew on the day we were filming that we'd have to be changing our wardrobe back and forth. So we'd be going to one side of the fight, to the other side of the fight, back to the other side, and we just wanted to make sure we were safe about it. Because if we spaced out and started doing the other side again, we didn't want anyone to get hurt. So that's why we trained together. We were doing 2 sessions twice a week, anywhere from 2 to 5 hours at Ming's house, just trying to get as physically ready and mentally ready as possible. Thankfully, we'd already done so many episodes together. By that point, we were super comfortable, and we know each other's body movements. Mullins found that, quote, "To choreograph a fight is constantly trying to be open to doing things differently and making things creative as possible. Any sequence that you ever do, it doesn't matter if it's 2 punches or 50 punches. The same amount of danger is always there. In order to make something look organic and real, the performers and stunt performers have got to punch each other as hard as they can. Both of us, myself and Sam, we worked with Kevin Tancharoen on Mortal Kombat, so we knew that the level of the director was wanting. So we both felt every piece had to be awesome. Because he's known for putting together amazing sequences and are both unique and hard-hitting. Joe also noted that trying to come up with things that people haven't seen before. There have been so many action movies and so many Marvel movies, you're constantly wanting to set the bar higher and higher, and it feels like the movies are even possible just get narrower and narrower because they've been done before. Marvel action ain't got nothing on Shield action. I said what I said. Tancharoen later reflected that everyone really liked that May versus May fight, and so he and the stunt team would use it as a benchmark to overcome when designing action sequences in future episodes. I would say this is very much a hallmark episode of the series for a lot of reasons. And I think the more we just extensively read into the designing of sets, costumes, and the filming and the choreographing of fight sequences. I mean, look at how much is here available to look up. This is a big episode, and I think one of the episodes of the series that is looked back on fondly. I mean, for one, anytime you get a May episode, is great. And I know a couple weeks ago, I don't know if it was Oliver Sava, he was criticizing the show for like, why aren't we getting more with May? Just be patient, dude. We've got, I don't know how many main characters. this is the thing. Is I feel like Shield, honestly, every week gave us episodes that were so entertaining, and I think they tried the best to give you something with every character. Obviously, some get more highlighted than others, but when you have a large ensemble and you have a TV show, we understand. We're going to get to some May moments at some point, and May never really gets left out, you know? She always gets brought back in. So anyway, and just to be clear here, when they were mentioning that Kevin Tancharoen had directed Mortal Kombat, they were referring to Mortal Kombat Legacy, which is an American web series, debuted on Machinimia.com, a YouTube channel on April 11th, 2011.
Machinima. I think that's...
Machinima.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell that is. Thank you for correcting me on that one.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Don't know what that was. Machinima.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense now. Oh, and there's a section here, visual effects. A major effect required throughout the episode was face replacements, especially during the May versus May fight, where it had to appear as if Wen was fighting herself. All the effects were completed in the 2 weeks between the filming and airing of the episode. Wen noted that Kevin Tancharoen directed the episode, and he's amazing with his directing with the Mortal Kombat series. So we had this really complicated sequence where we do this 360, and it reveals me, and it reveals me again, and there's no cut, and you wonder how that happens in one fight sequence, in one of the fight sequences. And that's because they completely scanned and CGI'd my face onto a stunt double. So there's a tremendous amount of work that went into the fight scenes, and we did not have a lot of time to do it. She also elaborated that on the day of, you have to have the set, and you have the cameras, and you have to deal with the special effects, because on top of everything else, we had to scan my face and go through this incredible process of taking 1 million pictures, so they were able to meld it onto Sam's face. And then I guess there's a section here for Marvel tie-ins, the nano mask.
Oh, yeah.
So, for the Winter Soldier. Okay.
Which they use a lot in this season for sure, didn't they? Or is it just for that one character?
No. Well, maybe it's just for that one a character, but they use it a lot for sure this season.
Mm-hmm. That I do remember.
Actually, I was trying to remember. What was it? Last week, I meant to say this. Last episode. That episode made great use of that plot device, which was Sky's, what was it, that monitor that she was wearing?
The heart monitor watch.
It comes back into play in episode 11. I think. Episode 11 of this season. I don't know if you remember it right now, but it comes back. And then also, this mask comes back in a really deliciously cutthroat way in the season finale. So just keep an eye out for that one. Anywho, as we make our way into this episode, as we begin to watch this episode, Face My Enemy, we should probably get into some of the comments that were left for episode 2, Heavy is the Head of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. David, take it away.
Yeah. Well, there was one that was made on our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 review by...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, by Snowhawk 4. This person said, hated Yes Men when it first aired. Still hate it today, but still will rewatch the end of it for the early hint at Ward being a traitor. And then gave their top five episodes. Yeah. First one is Fizzed, 2 Tracks, 3 Turn, 5 Tahiti, 4 Tahiti, 5 End of the Beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. And then, okay, yeah. Now these are for episode 2. First one's by Silver Surfer. Hello there, agents. Hope all is well. I will add that Mac isn't just a nice guy who is being kind to Fitz, as we will see next episode with Simmons undercover in Hydra. Making friends is important to undercover work. Mac is working the most damaged member of S.H.I.E.L.D. to get information and access to finding his goal. He is a spy and a traitor at this point. Just wanted to point that out. Which, fair, Although,
I would say that the use of traitor, and I think Silva understands this very much, is a very loaded term.
mhm.
Traitor, I mean, you can definitely make the argument that the team will feel betrayed by Mac because of what he did and what he's currently doing on the DL right now. That's definitely correct, technically true. But I do feel that the way that it was used is a bit harsh, considering the fact that once we know now fully Mac's true intentions were that he felt Phil Coulson was compromised. And again, if we're going to take that at face value, so far, I think this with Mac is tied to the Real Shield, and the Real Shield aspect of this season, I think tends to be the most controversial part of this season, and maybe one of the most controversial parts of the entire series, as far as like the thinking behind that. I feel like ultimately, and I don't want to, I guess, get into it right now, but Phil Coulson, the show wants us to feel like Phil Coulson did make mistakes. And while the methods that the Real Shield gang used to basically usurp him were rather infuriating, and in some instances pretty stupid, especially in terms of how hawkish they were in their pursuit of hunting down powered people, because like, we can't have Coulson have powered people. As you will see in the coming episodes, the methods and the rationale as far as the decisions that were made by that cabal of people are definitely rightfully will be questioned when we get there down the line. I think ultimately this season is this. Phil Coulson is trying to run his version of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he's trying to find a balance between how he would do things, but then also what he already has in his head that any director of S.H.I.E.L.D. should be running things. And obviously, and this is where the real S.H.I.E.L.D. gang do have a point, yeah, he would be looking to the practices of Nick Fury and as inspiration, you know? Nick Fury was a great leader, but he also had his blind spots, and I feel like the real S.H.I.E.L.D. gang have their fair share of reasons for why they wouldn't want a disciple of Fury being in charge of the castle, you know? Especially because if you don't know the information from the outside looking in, it seems pretty like, what the hell? That Coulson was brought back from the dead using alien DNA, and they messed with his memories. Like, it's just very, like, what? So if you don't really know Coulson, you're going to be like, we can't let this shit, like, just fly, right? We got to shut this thing down. On top of the fact that, and again, I don't even think they knew that going in. I just feel like, oh, Fury picked this guy. We can't let this thing go. We need to go ahead and infiltrate this space and just try and take it over for ourselves, because I don't think S.H.I.E.L.D. can survive another Fury, is I think what their thinking was. And again, we've already noted that within the first episode, I want to say, Mac, in one of the few moments he had when he was voicing an opinion, was agreeing with Hartley, and Hartley was, and remember, Hartley and Mac went in together at the same time. They were in cahoots, as they say. Where, like, why are we wasting our time going after a government installation? Shouldn't we be chasing Hydra or something? And then there are little things here and there that kind of give it away that Mac isn't really quite on board with Coulson, but he's very much a passive observer. Like when he says at the end of that episode, you risked all that for a Quinjet. And then Coulson's like, no, we risked that for what we can do with one. And I you know what? point taken to Silva about like, okay, Mac definitely sees an opportunity here to get close to, people in this space, spies, right? That definitely is part of it. But I feel like it was pretty clear at the other end of it, when Real Shield reveals themselves, and Mac does say this to Fitz, like it didn't change at all how he felt about Fitz. And I think genuinely there was a friendship that grew there from it. I guess you can say from the outset looking in that Mac's intention was to get him on his side, but I don't really think that was it. I just think Mac was like, I don't really know the guy that they were talking about before. I'm just going to treat him like a normal person, and we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I don't know if it was Fitz, but at some point, Mac was able to acquire access to the plans of the base, and I'm not even sure who it was. I know that May said that we, as in her and Coulson, gave Mac the schematics to the base before. Anyway, it's all semantics. I understand the point that Silva was making, but I do feel, though, that wasn't necessarily the intent.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can tell there's a difference between how Mac and Fitz are versus Ward and Fitz between both seasons. Like, yes, there was like a mutual respect between Ward and Fitz and everything, but he was still guarded, pretty much him and everyone else in the team. Whereas with Mac, I feel like he's pretty open with everyone. Like he's generally is himself around everyone. There's sort of nothing.
I don't really
hide.
get the double agent vibe. That's what makes him really good at it.
Yeah. So that could also just been the vibe because of Ward being cut off or isolated. So yeah, it's hard to tell. Silva says, "I laughed so hard when you asked if I or Oliver wrote that review." And then the next one's from Gary Marshall. Last one. That opening scene was Nick Blood's first day of filming on AOS. He tells a story that he just finished filming another project the day before, was flown over to LA in an 11-hour flight, got met at the airport, was driven straight to the set feeling really jet lagged, told to get into this overturned vehicle and start acting. Love Hunter and his demonic hell beast of an ex-wife who we will get to meet very shortly. She's amazing. Which also, that's just stressful if that's true. Like just going straight to a set. Oh man, I just don't wonder why he's probably super chill though too. It's just like, I'm too tired to act, so I'm just gonna be like this or something.
It might be that, yeah.
But yeah, that's all the comments.
All right, well, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this episode.
Previously on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Why? Do you have some reservation?
There is one more thing.
What?
They're probably just like, gosh darn it, aliens? No, come on.
Yeah.
Mac, you're on.
Copy that. We're pulling up now.
It's been a while since we've seen the team do one of these.
Mm-hmm. I also remember a specific joke being told here that actually I laughed out loud when they first saw it.
1962 rolls were stored in my cell.
I noticed. Still not letting you work on Lola.
In time, sir. In time.
Which, hey,
Yeah.
yeah, he will.
Fun, right? Isn't this fun? Look,
The
cufflinks.
series finale. Took the whole series.
Yes, sir. We will.
This joke right
That?
Yeah, that's me.
Is she okay? Is everything okay?
I love that joke the first time. It was so good.
My face hurts.
And by the way, that's the difference between Melinda May and Ming Na Wen. That laugh is Ming Na, like, most of the time.
I mean, I love the bloopers. She was just like, man, I'm hungry. It's like, oh, it's probably the tacos. It's like, yeah, I smelled them.
I mean, this is, come on.
And selective at the academy. Of course, I dropped it 2 weeks later.
Not bad for 2 weeks.
Phil?
I know it's uncomfortable, but it's also necessary.
No, Phil, look. Talbot.
There goes our cover.
Great moment. Seriously. If we ship these two, like, this is I think this is
Right?
like the beginnings
whole
of
thing.
it.
The whole thing. There was so much history in that whole exchange. It's like, man, these two go back all the way.
Jeez, not this story again. Can we not?
Oh, no, I think we can.
I first met her on a spring night. She was on the pier facing the Outer Banks.
I love the way he's telling it too. Like, he knows he's just like bullshitting, like everything.
She just said more words than I've heard her say in a year.
I just have to say, philanthropy is my passion.
All right, Agent May.
That's very alarming.
I love it. That's his first words in this episode too.
I must get a picture of us together. Charles, come here. Honey, can you take a picture of me and Mr. Soto?
I love how Soto is like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What?
Yo.
Ah, man. I love that shit. He could have just knocked him out, you know? He didn't have to do that, but...
I really like that dress.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Shields here. Look. Recognize them?
So, as their first conversation, Coulson and Talbot's conversation, I was like, oh, wait, I think, yeah, Talbot's not Talbot for this one, right? And then
Something fell off.
yeah, like
didn't
as
it?
the conversation kept going, I'm like, yeah, that's not him, right? Cool.
Because Talbot wouldn't be acting so cool like that, you know? Like,
I mean, what really sold it was the one too many drinks that he's had. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't think he would drink.
You're the only one that can help me figure out what that writing is. It's what you do. So why don't we help each other?
Even just the way that he's speaking, it's like, it's so obviously not him.
Mm-hmm. I think,
Like how, like, he's speaking lowly. Talbot's fucking loud.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, he wants to make himself known to people and
Yeah.
everything. And so I know for sure Coulson knows that's not him. And I think what gave it away was the Phil. He called him Phil. I don't think
Change of heart. Doesn't add up.
No, he's working us. I just need to know why.
okay, never mind.
he doesn't know quite just yet.
Yeah.
And remember, at this point, I don't think they know of the nanomask.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he's sending May to go check it out, because he feels like this is not adding up. So that's why he's sending May right now to go see. Because of course, when something doesn't add up, who do you go and fix the problem? May.
Think that's what drove away the ex-wife?
See, now you're bringing it back up.
Ah, Fitz. It is depressing seeing the lab like this, isn't it?
You may be stumbling and stuttering on the outside, but you have to let them see who you really are underneath all that.
It's really cool now that all these scenes that we've had in these 4 episodes of Fitz talking to that Simmons in his head. Never did I think it would be brought back like 4 seasons later and it be like a really fucked up twist. If you know what I mean.
Maybe we are getting through to him.
He only wants to meet with you, but you know I'm not going to let you go out there alone.
Great. Let's move.
But there's also some really interesting rationale there. Like part of the reason why Fitz is not wanting to really like put himself out there and connect with his new team members, because the last time he tried to put his feelings out there, didn't end very well.
And you will comply. Until then.
I like how every time May's tortured, she just like ends up getting the fuck out of it. I don't even know how.
Thank you. I won't let you down.
The look he just gave her is like, who the fuck are you? Like the minute she like, I mean, all her answers were a bit like, okay, but the minute she squeezed his hand, like, not only with that not be something May would do? Because she's not really touchy-feely. But also...
Well, that's an odd sound.
I mean, I guess you would recognize someone's touch.
I thought you'd never ask. Once this is over, I'd like that.
God damn. Man, Hydra has no idea who they're up against.
Yeah.
Come on. Look at May. Like, that's all it took.
I won't go down easy.
I like the differences in both of them in that moment.
Yeah. This might be the last time in the whole show we see this room and that hallway of the bus.
This way here? No! Dear God, no. The one beside it, the one beside it. To the left? To the right. To the right.
I think that's a good thing.
This is the first real like moment that Hunter and Fitz have together.
Yeah.
You wouldn't talk so much.
God damn.
That's the makeup right there. Holy shit.
Yeah.
We survived a Hydra attack, saved the bus. I turned out to be a genius at mechanical engineering. Calls for a celebration.
I like the way you think.
Again, what I like about Hunter here is like he's actively trying to make friends and care about the people who he works with.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like for good reasons. It's like the opposite of Ward. Ward did it for bad reasons.
Yeah, hey, so I don't have an ex, but there was this girl that I like, and I told her how I felt, but she doesn't feel the same way as I do, so she left.
You know, this is a good moment for Fitz to get it off his chest, but I think it's like...
I lost her, mate. From what I can see, she's missing out. So moving on.
Going into season 2, I don't think any of us expected that this would be something that they would do with Fitz and Summons, that she would just leave him, in large part because she just didn't know how to deal with not only Fitz being injured, but also how to process how she feels about Fitz. You know, I think it just didn't seem possible that those two were just so tightly knit that one would not abandon the other, you know? And so it's just, it really is painful when you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Where? Tuscan Villa?
Cabin in the Australian outback.
Because I like kangaroos.
Point is, no matter what happens, I'll take care of you.
I don't know if you know somebody else who's in the Australian outback in a kind of a similar situation.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting, right? How what they were planning on doing sounds a lot like
Most selfless thing anyone has ever wanted to do for me.
Gilgamesh and Fina in Eternals.
Yeah.
But I need you to forget all that and kill me as ordered.
What?
You said it yourself. I'm not getting better.
They got real serious.
Mm-hmm.
Bring me the obelisk. 48 hours. Clock starts now.
Not good for her.
No, yeah.
Let's go ahead and go over to Amwan.
And scary, man. Jesus. What a fun episode. I love any time we can pair up May and Coulson for a little night on the town, playing upon their relationship, their dynamic, getting all these little ins and outs of it, and then having to swap in an imposter May in the middle of it all was a great sequence. I love those situations because with characters like May or anybody that's very much got a very well-defined persona, which you could kind of see, it was kind of accentuated throughout this, you know, with the commentary from the quarterbacking from Sky back on the bus. He's like, oh, this is more than I've ever heard her talk, blah, 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 blah. We're seeing these like little like micro-analyses of May while on a mission compared to the May they know and stuff like that. So there's like a lot of that seeded throughout the episode. So then it's always fun to see how the people that know this person so intimately and so well can see all the things that aren't quite adding up because it's on a mission or what that. Maybe somebody like Sky who doesn't know her as well or as long might not be able to see some of these, but Coulson knows exactly how to test, how to prod, how to figure out what's going on. It's like a little scene in Captain Marvel with Nick Fury and fuck, what's his name? It was Talos, but the guy that Talos was pretending to be. I love the way that these shows and these movies and stuff like that will play with this imposter trope, and you get to see how they fish for information, like what their tells are. And then once you feel like, okay, something's suspicious, let me just lead them along towards this thing I know for a fact this person would never say or agree to or lean into or whatever, and see if I can get them to trip into it. He did that so well. And then it was just beyond satisfying when it became down, satisfying and hot, when it came down to May versus this fake May. Thankfully, they didn't have to do this whole, like, which one's the real one? While that can be cool, I feel like that's way overdone. Thankfully, we didn't have to do that because they only had one of her outfits. So you just had sweaty, scantily clad May and dolled up May just going to town throughout that fight. And you could just see throughout it, while there was some times where she was struggling a little bit, but that she just, throughout most of the fight, though, had the upper hand. Like, he was like, I know all your moves. Bitch, no, you do not. May is not just some S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. She's not Agent 43. She's fucking May. And she's going to Mayday your head into that table again and again and again. Because she's just that badass. Back off. That was so satisfying, though. And then electrocuting her face and, like, burning through the false mask that she was wearing. The false mask, as if there's any other kind. But, like, it had this, like, I don't know, pattern to it with the burn. I'm wondering if she's, obviously, I imagine she survived that. But if she does, is she going to have, like, a scar in the shape of that slash? I don't know if she's supposed to be a comic character or not, this Agent 43 or whoever, but it was also fun seeing this fake Talbot, also another imposter in this. I was like, man, this seems so odd. And the thing that stood out to me the oddest was, like, I know he doesn't like Coulson, but there is nothing that we've seen of Talbot that makes me think he would willfully work with Hydra, even if it is Coulson. I don't think he would work with Hydra just to get to Coulson. Like, he's, like, resolute in his patriotism. You know, that's the kind of air that he's given off every step of the way. So when he was in there, you know, and we saw him mingling around with that Hydrophile or whatever, I was like, wait a second. Something does not feel right about that. And then we got the reveal that it was just Axe Woves. Getting to see them program the mesh, I don't know if we've seen that before. Obviously, there's some questions about that. Can they eat with that on? Can they drink with that on? It makes, like, certain situations that you're in very difficult to navigate. You know, it's not like the masks in Mission Impossible where you could do those things. It just presses on around the eyes and the mouth and it just melts together. On top of that, back on the bus, you had everybody just trying to, you know, they're on the sidelines, they're quarterbacking, they're keeping tabs on everything that's going on. What the hell? Floor heater just randomly fell over. You know, everybody's just kind of shooting the shit in the downtime, you know, spouting out their stories, getting to know each other, taking jabs at one another, and the entire time Fitz is on the sidelines, not knowing how to interject into everything, because he's still trying to deal with who he is and what he brings to the team, or what his role in the team even is right now. You know, his false Gemma came back and was once again be like, hey, trying to nudge him along to making progress to not needing her is the sense I'm getting. Is this coping mechanism in his brain to try to help him get through some of this, but also nudge him back to what he needs to be. Again, like I've said before, she's always got the answers. Those answers are in his head. Even though he might not be able to verbalize certain things, he's able to find the things eventually, or has to find a roundabout way to get to the things he's trying to think of. He might not be able to say what it is or recollect what it is he's trying to say, but there's something he knows he's always kind of clawing at. And she's always there with that intel. And then we found him in this situation where he knew what was happening, but he was struggling to say it. But he was with people that knew him well enough that he was able to convey enough of what he needed to say to get them out of this situation. I loved seeing that progress, and then on top of that, getting them out of this whole thing where they were about to just explode, and getting to just have a beer with the guys, and kind of getting the go-ahead from his ghost Simmons was kind of sweet as well, even if it was a little awkward and mildly sad when he was just like, yeah, I got a story about not an ex, but a girl I liked, and I said I confessed, and she left. Anyway, it was one of the, it just hurts. But there's more to it than that, I imagine, obviously. I would feel like, I don't know. I do love them together, and I like that he's just kind of... There was this idea of sentimentality and nostalgia in this episode, and that's what he was looking back. He's like, look what they did to our lab. It's not even our space anymore. They didn't even ask me. You know, he's staying in what used to be rather than moving forward into what is, hanging into who he used to be and not who he currently is, and how can current him still play a part in the team. Meanwhile, that is also echoing with Coulson and May and their decisions on how to handle what may or may not happen with Coulson if he can't get a handle on this brain stuff that's going on.
Let me just quickly go over some other responses. Eric Goldman of IGN gave the episode 8.3 out of 10, indicating a great episode, praising the May versus May fight as the best fight scene the show has ever done, and noting Tancherowan's direction as well as the improved visual effects from the previous season used for the sequence. He also highlighted the character development for Fitz and Coulson and found the end tag made Whitehall feel truly menacing and powerful. Oliver Sava of the AV Club graded the episode. Sorry, it's late. Graded the episode a B+, praising Tancherowan's direction in the May versus May fight as downright exhilarating, as well as the episode's focus on May and her relationship with Coulson. He did, however, criticize the Fitz subplot, calling it forgettable and predictable. Oh, Oliver. Oh, you. There's always got to be something. Anyway, David, do we have anything left to say?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I remember now why this episode stands out to me, and it's because of mainly, I mean, the May fight is cool and everything. That whole sequence is great, but everything with Fitz is like memorable for me because this was the episode where I loved Fitz's character. I mentioned it many times on the podcast, but like I struggle talking to people, and if you see like the early episodes of me in this podcast, I'm quieter. I was a whole lot quieter than I am now, and everything, and especially when then.
Would it surprise you, by the way, to know that sometimes I feel the same way? Like, you know, I don't think I've ever felt shy on this show that we've been doing for so many years now. But if you get me in settings where I don't really know some of the people who are involved in a group, I just kind of like hang back and like listen and observe. I don't really like to, I don't know, maybe it's just a self-conscious thing, but I related to that as well, very much so as you, because I've been in situations like that where it's like I can see this group and they're all like firing off like one comment after the other, and they're all getting closer, and you're just kind of there and you don't really know what to say. And I'm much better at it now, where I can, you know, make the every odd comment now here and there to at least like be engaged in it. But I remember when I was far younger, I would kind of like be like just there and listen and not really say anything.
Especially at the time when this episode aired, I was in high school, and it was a struggle for me. I don't know what to bring into the conversation for a lot of times. It's just like my mind goes blank. And so obviously I can relate with the Fitz in that brain damage that he got and everything, but like I definitely relate to him in that his struggles of trying to become friends with this new set of people and all that. And that's why he became one of my favorite characters, because I was just instantly like, that's me. That's me right there. And that moment where he just goes, I was like, oh yeah, I don't really have an ex, but and you know, he goes off and everything. Again, also me, where you just kind of like, you kind of just get that urge of being like, I wanted to say this at the time and all that, but I couldn't say it, or you just.
And now let's just say it now.
Or you just kind of just spit off something random. And you do realize like, I think that wasn't the right thing to say, or just the wrong moment. I don't know. But yeah, that's for sure standout moments for Fitz, for me at least. And yeah, this is a great episode.
Yeah, May and Coulson are definitely incredible. any episode that features them at the heart of it, I think it's just going to be pretty damn successful. And I think reliving this episode just, again, it reminds you, yeah, damn good show. But also, this is basically the real birth of the Felinda thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think this is the first time I was able to catch Coulson make a rather interesting comment about him liking that dress. And then knowing the context, I'm like, oh, I see it. I see it now more than I guess I initially realized the first few times I saw it. Anywho, thank you all for watching. Thank you, David, for being here. As always, you can write any comment you want on the section below about anything that we said. And then catch us back here for next week. Stay under our spotlight for more content and more. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.